What is this, Liurnia weather? What the hell is going on here? Oh, there we are. Howdy, Xavier. Good to see you in the chat. Oh, boy. All right, so... we got our favorite waterfall caused by Rao ruins breaking open. Funny, they can overlap. So we have one of our green boys at the cliffside graves again. Though they aren't like on top of it like they used to be. Tyranny and weather in my Souls game. I know, who would have thought? Type of this from the basement holding cell of the Church of Scientology. Well, that's what you get when you take the pamphlets, Nick. I'm sorry to say. Should have seen that coming. All right. So I did a little posting on the Twitter, not using the new name. And I will say I was not expecting it to blow up. I was just asking an honest question. And my phone has been blowing up. I'm just like, oh my God, like, please stop. I'm begging. So we have another one of these. Now we see tons of the dragonflies and stuff over there, the normal ones. That's not usual, but this here gets me, is that we have the green ones coming in again. I have to wonder then if it's possible that the ones we saw, because what were they? In the hinterlands, right? They were located, what, like... here, or was it here? No, because there, I think that's where the bears are. So yeah, it was like over here or here. Yeah, because I think it's too close. I think it was like around here. I wonder if that was just to acknowledge this, and they just wanted to screw with me by putting like a giant one there or something, or someone just thought they were being cheeky. Yeah, there's no other here. Like, we're not seeing any on the way down or anything, right? Like, there's none, like, flying around. Yeah, so just the one. There is something about those green dragonflies that makes them appear at the cliffside graves. I can't figure out what it is. That one is gonna bug me so much. Flooded with thirsty DMs for your incredible lore knowledge, I presume? No, that's my emails. No, but like I was asking because I may have talked about this before, but you know, we have the like cubicle rock formations that we see happening, and I actually recently did a very quick map. So this is by, again, full disclosure, this is by no means necessarily the most accurate. I think I overlaid some areas a little further than intended, but it serves its purpose. Come on, where is it? There we go. Let me move this over here now, right? So you have these rock formations, and they are not universal, right? Like you would think with how frequently you sometimes see them being used, that they're just like a generic rock asset or something that the game just kind of uses among its others to fill. But no, it's actually fairly specific. Right? It's like, here we go, we have the lands between, but then we start having these, and obviously Liurnia is probably the most notable area, but we also of course see it on where Stormvale Castle sits on. And this is a little misleading. This section isn't really, but basically all along the edge up to like this part of the coastline in Limgrave, and then we go all the way up. It's like, yeah, we can find them all over, yada yada yada, right? Up until, of course, Gelmir. I think a little bit of Perfumer Ruins, if I recall correctly. I don't think this section. I think this section's a little done. And I forget how much it wraps around Altus, but it mostly basically sticks here. And then, of course, goes a little past Gelmir all the way to... I think this is a little too far, probably. but basically to about where Shaded Castle is, like about this line. Point is that it's fairly... Oh no, he thinks the rocks are special now. The rocks talk to me, Xavier. I can hear them. They need to be freed. Anyway, but the point is that it's very hyper specific to these sections, right? And that naturally begs questions of why. And well, one thing I didn't mention in the post is I wanted to focus just on base game Liurnia and asking what people, especially people who have any like expertise in geology and stuff like that. I know I asked Nardi a while back, but I wanted to get, you know, other opinions and stuff like that. And we got some good responses and things from people for sure. But we see very similar, I don't know if they're the exact same assets, but very similar formations now here. And it looks like it's all along the lengths of this valley. Little bit, of course, beyond just the valley, though, right? A little bit here. Oh, we're gonna be checking those cliffside graveyards, believe you me. Right, so these do, in fact, exist, not just in the lands between on that section, but over here, too. The rocks have told me about the lore. I am the enlightened one. Yes, yes. By the way, just came from a heartbreaking run from Illusory Walls DS1 randomizer. Use what you get permadeath stream. He's a madman. That does sound like a clusterfuck for sure. Is there a specific reason we have? Oh, I keep forgetting you exist. Yeah, like to be completely frank, I keep forgetting you exist. Like, why are you here too? This is just the normal one, right? It can't be because of the bodies being dropped, can it? With the fly? Could it be the Erd Tree roots trying to absorb people with the fly disease? I don't think it has anything to do with Castle Ensis, could it? A little far for anything Deathroot related. A little far from the Forge, too. It's the only other time I can think of is obviously in Ballarat and the poison stuff. It's the Shadow Tree one, yeah. Oh right, because they have a unique texture and stuff because of the Shadow Tree, right? This actually would be a perfect place to actually get a shot of this guy then, because it's not gonna have to deal with any of the weird like lighting mist stuff that you have in the other area. Wait, so is it a Shadow Tree one in Ballarat too? There we go, let's... I know I'm getting sidetracked, but I can't help myself, chat. What? Oh, are you kidding me? Like, seriously, no one wants the rain. Go away. There we go. Yeah, it's hard to tell, but I think the bark is a little slightly darker than usual. I definitely don't remember like these brighter gold bits like this. That I don't recall. Okay, it drops the Horn Baron. That doesn't really tell me if it's the standard type or the Shadow Tree type. I'm gonna assume it's all Shadow Tree. I can't imagine they would switch up the models, but like just to be doubly sure, you know. Oh yeah, I do not recall like these darker black twigs and stuff we get. Actually, are those burns? It might just be the shadow stuff. Should be careful about making too much of it, you know? Is there anything special about these guys compared to the normal tree spirits, or are they just a retexture? They just reskins. Oh, no, this river one drops the Horn Bear, so it's from the Horn set. Okay. They have Shadow Holy Fire with the Shadow Tree leaves instead of golden leaves. Oh, neat. I might want to include that Air Tree's beginning because I think I mentioned tree spirits there. I have to double check. I might not, and I might have to save that for Mesmer's Crusade. Either way. Horn Baron was for just the death with the spirituality and stuff, right? Finding it randomly in this river. I guess it could still tie into the fly thing because like children dying to the disease and stuff. All right, that's enough for now. I'll come back for you one day, my friend. There we go. Got that cookbook. Yeah, formation's still there. So this is the overhang. Yeah, okay. Not really that formation here. A little bit on this side, though. Right? Like, we start seeing a little bit of these blocky formations on this side here. Mm-hmm. Don't know if this has any connection to that. But we do see quite a bit of the blockiness, though, happening over here, too. Right? It's starting to form, like, the jagged peak stuff on this end as well. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, and this is, like, our destination we're going through. Right? We got ourselves prawn. How far is this from? It'd be funny if all the prawn are connected to Castellensis, I'd just say. It would be really funny if that's how this all turns out. Yeah, and it keeps going all the way here. Not you. Just want to double check, make sure. Yeah, okay. Pretty safe to say that's the same one. The ulcers on these ones are also woody instead of fleshy and limbed. Yeah, you don't see as much like fleshiness to that one I noticed. All right. Come on. What is going on here? Chat, I'm sorry to say, I need to get another cable again. Every time. Actually, I need something that can, like, staple these stupid cables so that they stay. Nope. Oh, a round rock. How that thing respawns. Oh, get myself turned around. Yeah, you know, let's go. Let's make the scale. I forget which one you say. Oh, to Mikkola stuff, okay. Is it a wormy one? Oh, I did not check if it was, I have not been checking. Ah, damn, does not load. All right, back up. Back up we go. Damn. Damn. There we go. It is, in fact, a wormy boy. It is, in fact, a parasite-infested homebody. Apparently, it must be perma-quarantined, too. All right, now. We come out, right? As far as I can tell, formations just says stop here, right? Yeah. It stops there, and it goes this way over to Jagged Peak, right? Blends into Jagged Peak. And this way, like up here. Again, this one also with the... obviously showing it low poly here or there, but same thing where it has the waterfall, and that also leads into the blockiness. Right? Which also ends up bleeding into the regular stuff. And stretches around this way. You can see it a lot. All the way over and around here with gravesite plains as well. But again, I'm not sure if this is exactly the same with the wall stuff. It's harder to say. Because usually it would be more consistent. You have more some of these things like stick out. Like you wouldn't have these types of jags. Like these are closer to what we'll get at Jagged Peak, right? Yeah, something more like this. you'd have more of this. But still, seems like it's the same idea. And that, yeah, that more or less seems to go around a little bit here and stuff, but then stops about there. Obviously, it doesn't carry on over here at all. Yeah, so covers this, covers this. I don't think we have any rock formations sticking out of the ground here, right? Like, I'm pretty sure they just keep it as plains. Giant sheep in the center lake here. Yeah, and they're all the lightning sheep as well. Oh, where'd the giant crabs come from? Did they come out of the ground? I was not paying attention. Oh, no, they're not giant crabs. One of them was big. The other's normal. Okay. I did not see you, Mr. Giant Crab. Yeah, we got the sheep and stuff here. I'm pretty sure the sheep are just supposed to be telling us about... Yeah, because we have outside the catacombs. This is the, I think... This might be the only spot? Maybe there's one other, but this might be the only spot where we normally see the flowers. I know we have the sheep without the flowers, but we have the lightning over by the village, the prospect town here. Oh. So you have Mr. Roly-Poly here. Pretty sure you get the Ash of War if you kill him. Yeah, but we have these lightning boys. I'm pretty sure the idea is like they all come from, because we do see them on Jagged Peak, but they all absorb some of the lightning from Jagged Peak and they get over here. I think the biggest question is why they would be giant, because we don't have any giants in Altus Plateau. And I don't recall seeing much gigantism elsewhere here, right? Like we have the typical giant crabs and stuff like that, but that seems to be just natural. Right. Yeah, Cerulean Coast pretty normal. All right. Yeah, all natural. Yeah, so it's interesting. They go out of their way to show the same formations for the Elak or whatever it's called river valley, right? And they extended a little bit on the land for Gravesite Plains. Mostly the stuff wrapped around here. And then, of course, over here. Almost like it's approaching. There does seem to be almost like a center focus where they kind of all leading back and over, right? Like a general direction flowing toward Jagged Peak. Or I guess away from Jagged Peak would be another option. Well, you know, with the way the river descends and stuff. There aren't any Crucible lightning sheep. But there are Crucible normal sheep, right? Like at least goats, right? You have like the big ram horns and stuff, if I recall. So we do see stuff like that, as I remember. I suppose the giant sheep could be an indication of just the amount of lightning power, because obviously the focus is that there was a significant battle in the Ancient Dragon War that happened on here, and that's helping produce the lightning sheep, right? And most of, correct me if I'm wrong, are there any golden sheep outside of that this plateau area? Like outside of the whole Fulgur Bloom battlefield. I can't remember if we had if we had any golden sheep, let alone lightning sheep. Maybe they ate a dragon heart. See, that was the point I was trying to get at. I don't know if they ate a dragon heart per se, but I wonder if it's just supposed to reflect how the concentration of power is greater, and that got channeled into growth rather than turning them into red lightning sheep. Right? Like they're like, yeah, these are just a bunch of golden sheep, and then some of them got like supercharged and it like caused them to grow. Because again, we have to keep in mind, ultimately the idea is that lightning is a form or derivative of holy power of gold, which is life. So the idea that you have like abundant life energies that could make you like super grow is not a bizarre notion. Right. And it's, yeah, it's so suspicious, the direction. Again, like we were trying to compare here. For comparison, what we have going from Limgrave, technically speaking, all the way to Gelmir and a little beyond into Altus. Right. Right. Like, this is where it begins. Right here. Yeah, as we see, much like what we saw there, these like square formations. Here to the other side where it's just normal rock and stuff like that. A little bit of the rocks even sticking out of the ground here. Ultimately, leading to Storm Hill, as we see. Has a bit of this. Both sides. That leads into Liurnia, where it's like balls to the wall. Like, this is basically all of Liurnia, is this, right? Like, everywhere. Everything, almost. It's such a huge defining element of the area. Right? And of course, ultimately reaches its zenith once we get to Gelmir. Yeah, a bit over here and stuff like that. I don't remember. Let's double check now. First, how far does this stretch around Altus Plateau compared to what I have on screen here? All right, so not too far. Just a little around. So like more or less what I have here, right? Like maybe I went a little too far to the highway, maybe something more like here. So maybe a little bit. But honestly, not that far off, right? And then here in Coffin Land, unfortunately not the coffin of Andy and Lily. Yeah, we have some of it, of course, like I said, extends over. Runestream Precipice right here. Some of it's sticking out. But ultimately, I was thinking mostly to Gelmir. Yep. Okay. And then, like we said before, it goes all the way about, like, maybe here-ish. Yeah, you can actually see the formations on the map here. So, yeah, more or less the dividing line is at the end of Shaded Castle, right? So, yeah, I went a little further. A little added too much here. But this does work generally. Like, I added a little bit much here and there. I could shave that off. But it covers the general gist. I didn't need to put it this much. I could probably have cut off a lot of this area. You know? Didn't need to highlight the lake there. But I think this more or less gets across the bigger picture. So much here. Oh, 1 second, chat. Stay hydrated. I love me water. With that now, I think we can more or less say that there's clearly some consistency there. Now looking at all the feedbacks on the Twitter, I have seen 2 compelling postulations for the cause of such formations. People, of course, a lot of people bring up basalt, however you pronounce that, columns, which, again, it's totally possible. Again, they're not obviously one-to-one compared to, say, what we get in Bloodborne. But again, this is like a fantasy series. They could be doing a little bit of creative license, especially with how obviously ginormous these things get. So one idea is that they would be basalt columns, and so it has to do with, if not tectonic, then most certainly magma shifts, you know, with surges of lava and stuff. So the argument would be that from Mount Gelmir, lots of lava would spill over and stuff, and that would shift and change and cause, you know, movements in the land. Again, we already know this is 100% confirmed with Gelmir by default, right? Like, this is a thing that Gelmir does. It has it, and it gets worse thanks to the reemergence of the lava from the Great Snake. So the idea that in the past, a huge lava flow, which would be so expansive, it would cover, of course, a little bit on this side, but mostly flow down into the lowlands, you know, because, you know, gravity. You know, I think we all understand how gravity works, right? So flowing down, flood basically all of Liurnia, extend over to this side of Stormvale, and then from there, a little bit, of course, onto Stormhill, but basically from there, collapse down, I guess, into this end area of Limgrave, and make these formations. So then from there, I guess from there it would just kind of be a stopping point and like end up at the bottom of the sea, right? So that would be the one idea I saw, and I think it was probably the most common. Another one which was interesting to consider is massive water flow. So the idea would be probably the best I could do to justify something like that, because it's all limited to one side, is what if something let's say like there was hypothetically a giant meteor crashed, and that meteor vaporized, of course, the earth and stuff, and it caused a huge displacement. But it wasn't just displacing the earth, it would also displace the water. And then all that water that would suddenly surge upward flows that direction with all the earth, right? And so maybe it would come from this direction, so therefore it would push the water that way. And then the water, with all that mineral that's picked up, gets surged over on this side, and that results on a similar thing where the formations result there. So that is probably the best. Yeah, that's probably the best I can look at for there. And then yeah, that's probably the best I can get for that. Because then it would be hard, I think, because if there was water coming from, I guess maybe you could argue water surge coming from that side, and it only slightly got onto the plateau. But then why wouldn't it get more into Limgrave and stuff, you think? Like, you think it would go down all the way to the peninsula and stuff then, if it was any water coming from that side. Unless it was for some reason hyper-specific, like mainly the Liurnia, and everything else, I guess, got splashed, right? I guess it would depend on what would be the source there. That would probably be the best I can probably argue. Oh. Yeah, that one's a tough, I think. I think that's a tougher case for me to kind of rationalize. The meteor thing, I think would definitely do it, because it's like people have been long theorizing about this being the source of a meteor strike. I feel like that might get a bit complicated though by the realm of shadow. Like, let's compare here. Put in there, the do so, the space that. Yeah, it gets even more complicated though when we consider the formation here then too, because I mean, it does work to an extent that you have it, of course, on the sides here, but arguably very minimally. The problem then is then justifying it going up with the Ilak, because obviously the way Ilak's designed is almost for the water flow to go downward. Old world map, it's straight up a smooth crater. Yeah, yep. That I remember that being a huge point of to the original speculation, for sure. I guess it could work still if we take into the idea that, like, the realm of shadow as the center of the lands between itself could have been subject. No, it's hard because if you can make the argument, oh, maybe it happened like just south of then you'd be like, okay, well, the water then would still be surging this way, so it should cover more of the Cerulean coast, right? A lot more of that should be affected, not just like the Karos hitting Grave and stuff. Like, it's a bit weird then that we don't see the formations and things, like, especially here and stuff, right? Like, why is the focus so much all heading either around this way, right? Or around this way along the river, and seeming to lead almost to Jagged Peak. Mm-hmm. Also, yeah, because it all kind of has a start stop here too. Correct me if I'm wrong. There we go. Yeah, because it doesn't extend here. Specifically on this part of the Karo grave. Yeah. Okay, that's a dumb question. Too bad. I'm gonna ask it anyway. When Patches says the infamous line, applying Dark Soul to you, what is it in JP? Oh, that's been a while since I've looked at that line. 1 second. I don't want to look this up. God, it's been so long. This was Patch's Dark Souls 3, right? Because this is when his like last line before he says bye to you. I remember it being like a similar pun, but I don't think it was as. Yeah. So he basically said, okay. So basically, what he says is, obviously, fine's not included there. A little bit of a localization gloss, but it basically is like, let there be a dark soul to you, basically, something to that effect. Like, may there be, let there be, you know, it's it's phrased in a typical way, that you're just kind of like making like a simple like idiomatic like statement, similar to how like when Siegward is being like, you know, glory to the sun's light, and you know, has a similar construction to that being, you know, you're just kind of like, you know, saying like a short, you know, pithy little idiom there. Yeah. And of course he's talking about how like he's gonna pray so much for you, right? So he's He's like, you know, let there be a dark soul for you, you know. Hey, good evening, Loki. What are you doing today? We are looking at rock formations. We are examining this. Now, I don't know if it's viral necessarily, but I definitely had a tweet that got exploded a lot more than I was expecting, considering I thought that was a pretty mundane question. But I get, you know, I'm not going to complain because I wanted to get as many people, specifically in the geology sphere, to see it, to get some of their thoughts and feedback. Anyway, so going to the point that we were talking about, actually, on that subject. So I don't know if water is the best explanation for this stuff. I like it. I like the idea in the base game context, but I don't know if we could apply it here. Now, lava, I could definitely see applying here just as well. And the question is there a way to make that work in this context? I guess if the idea is that the lava might be coming from Jagged Peak, I can see an argument for it. The only problem I would have is it'd be a question of how seriously would we have to take the more cubicle structures all the way going on this side, right? Like, I think we'd have to still take them pretty seriously. Yeah. So could there be idea that they flow from Jagged Peak, or alternatively, this is an interesting idea. What if they flow... What if they're not flowing from Jagged Peak, but to Jagged Peak? So hear me out. Hear me out for a second. We do have the forges with the lava and stuff. We don't really see this correspond, unless maybe you want to say Telu's Ruin Forge is supposed to correspond to the northern part of this river. And then you have the forges here and here. But again, it doesn't really correspond here very strongly, right? So this could end up tying into the forges as well, if assuming the lava's related there. Yeah, no. You know, geological formation stay standard. Yeah, it's only around here-ish that we get to see it. Just a little bit here. Obviously, you have the proximity to Jagged Peak to take into account. Oh, the Abyss here. I don't know if the Abyss has these formations at all. That's actually probably something worth investigating. Anyway, so there's got to be a way they could have gotten the point across that isn't so blatant, the unmitigated gall. I mean, yeah, you can make a criticism there. It's pretty on the nose. It's pretty on the nose for patches, for sure. No, yeah, this character would be the one that does that. Let's start over here, yeah. Yeah. Hey, so my thought process is, what if... Oh, right, I'm going to be stuck here on foot soon. I forgot. I actually like these because we've talked about conifers. These are actually very similar to the rotted conifers in terms of model style that we see in base game. But I like how they have this, like, twistedness to them, right? Like, very neat. Because there's conifers everywhere in the Realm of Shadow, so it's interesting to see them have a completely different, what was the, yeah, Yeah, he's frightened. He's scared. He's afraid. But yeah, rock formation's pretty standard. Nothing crazy here. Guess we got to do this whole thing on foot. Sorry to say. So I'm thinking so much lava, obviously covering such large scale in Lands Between, like that. I don't think we could. I don't think there's any way at any point in Gelmir's history with the snake that's happening. So my thought is, what about the twin bird? Because if the idea is that the twin bird, especially at Gelmir specifically, because Rudal, the idea would be that Gelmir, basically the idea is that the twin bird basically flew south for the metaphorical winter, in this case to pick up all the dead bodies, and then ends up coming after collecting them, goes back north and then cremates them all there. So there's kind of like this kind of like cool, you know, heat and cool and stuff going on, I would be arguing. And then at some point the twin bird dies, he gets replaced by the great snake, and we can talk about maybe whatever could potentially cause that, such as maybe getting eaten by the snake, but neither here nor there. My thought process would be, okay, we have all this fire being used to cremated stuff. Could that be causing so much outpouring and outflow of lava that it was at that point in history covering the entirety of the Lands Between? Because I can see this, that before the astrologers and the founding reign of stars and all that stuff, does the painting have conifers? I don't. It's actually something worth I don't know if I have this image actually. Textures maybe? No, it's not under textures. Probably should get it under textures if I'm being quite honest. No, that's for the introduction stuff. Oh, it's probably under my Abyssal Woods, Midra's Manse. There we go. Yeah, there actually are conifers. Yeah, very, very blatantly. There are the conifers. Let me show it for you guys. Yeah, so if we're looking at the idea that Midra's Manse once looked normal once upon a time, you have the flowers from the Shaman Village, and you have definitely some conifers, standard. See there, these. I'm not sure if I remember seeing trees quite this tall or something. Those might be from local. Nothing really comes to mind at the moment, of course. Right. Oh boy. Oh, never picked this up. Whoopsie. Silly me, not looking around. No, it's the lore of the trees being so big here. I mean, they're getting lots of water, we'll say that. They're getting lots of water and lots of mad sunlight. I'm trying to think, like, when do we find trees this big elsewhere in the game? And I'm like, yeah. We have so many roots and stuff, too, here. Like, these things are towering. Yeah, nothing on the formation side. Yeah, I hear you. The paleness is also a bit unsettling. Well, like we do see that a bit with the horn scent trees, and of course with the America like birches that get grown thanks to the Erd tree. Go. Now this not gonna help me here. Uh-huh. I'm not seeing any of that formation. All right, so back to what I was saying, though, about the lava. So I think we could definitely make the case of all that lava outflow from Gelmir under the Deathbird being the idea that, unlike, say, the Gelmir snake, which is producing it as a byproduct of what it eats and the strength of the souls it's accumulating in itself, that the Deathbird is just producing the fire as a god of birds, or the mother, I should say, of birds who also produce fire with ghost flame and stuff. So the idea being with all the death and stuff like that would obviously be able to very easily get flame, might have a natural affinity for flame as well, potentially. And the end result is basically so much flame that, like, it's just endlessly pouring out lava and stuff. That heat and that lava spreading all the way down through and across, right? And then eventually Twinbird leaves the picture. Gelmir's serpent replaces it. We have found stuff like founding rains of stars and things. Astrologers, of course, spread over. Also, of course, obviously have so much time for the land to grow. Honestly, this might even explain the conifers natural spread. You have them spread here, and then they spread down south and stuff like that across the entire Altus Plateau and Realm of Shadow. But if the idea is that maybe they had spread by that point, but fire had basically blocked their path from going any further, so they could never reach Limgrave naturally, which is why then it becomes behoove and, well, not, you know, it doesn't behoove them per se, but, you know, it becomes up to astrologer populations to kind of start spreading those conifers on their own in this period, because as we see, even if we want to argue for a natural growth upwards to like here-ish, it's not really that far. Like, even maybe you can make a case all the way down here because there's like a bit up until this. That's not really far. And if that's as far as they get in that times since then, I could definitely see a case then, that obviously there was maybe a blockage that was kind of shortening the history for those trees to spread naturally. Yeah, I do like this. I'll be honest, I enjoy this moment with Torrent more now that I know that Torrent was scarred. Like, that retroactively kind of means like, oh, the burn. Like it's one of those things where I'm like, it was answering a question I didn't even know I should be asking. Like, I was so, you know, behind on the Torrent has mysterious burn scars on him. What's up with that? And you could... I would have loved to make the theories kind of be like, oh yeah, probably frenzy related based on the final cutscene with Melon or whatever. But like now it's like, oh my god, you had set this up. My horse is not just randomly being a complete wuss. Could it be they're so tall because they're trying to get sunlight since they're in the abyss? Sure, it's possible. The problem is we see that sunlight doesn't seem to be mandatory for trees because we see them growing underground too. Like, we see them growing in caves, in, like, say, deep root depths and stuff like that. Obviously in Shifa River. So just doesn't look like the sun is that important for trees. Now, I'm not saying that they aren't still, I guess, quote, evolved to want to reach for it and stuff like that. It doesn't seem like normal trees are exclusive to having certain levels of sun. They could theoretically go without any sun, apparently. And it's not like say some of the silver plants or stuff we see under Noxerware. It's not like they're changing either because of their specific environment under glintstone, starry skies or something. Hell, in deeper depths, there is no glintstone there to justify. Uh-huh. Wait, what? Am I crazy? Yeah, I don't know why that's glowing. I seems kind of right. Like, I get that one. Maybe it'll make more sense if I get closer again. Yeah, no, it just seems like a random glow spot. Yeah, lots of water and stuff spilling into here. Okay, music. Yeah, I'm sure if I remembered it, it would be great. Acer made a very good point of how in the trailer you have you're riding on Torrent at toward Midra's Manse, and obviously you can't get Torrent to Midra's Manse. It's literally impossible, right, with the way the game has it all set up. So very funny little thing they do. I'm still mad you can't explore behind Midra's Manse. I still think the fact that all of this is unexplorable is a crime against humanity. How I mentioned how much I hate the name Deeproot Depths. Like, yeah, we get the implication. Yeah, it's the localizers have always struggled with trying to deal with the Japanese proclivity to use the term bottom. They've always struggled, so it's like saying like deep root bottom they don't want to do, or Shulva being the deep bottom, the gutter being the trash bottom, right? Again, I think gutter was actually ingenious in how they came up with it, because it kind of evokes the exact set feeling of trash bottom, right? But uses, you know, a gutter, right? It's something that's definitely natural in English that perfectly encapsulates it all. Shulva, what do they call it? The Sunken Kingdom? Like, I feel like that. I feel like that one. I mean, it's short and to the point. You know, it's catchy, but it really doesn't capture what exactly they're getting at. The point being that there's a bottom even below the trash bottom that is the gutter, right? Which is kind of the point. Is it's like the bottom to the gutter, the trash bottom's bottom, the deep bottom, right? But yeah, localizers have always struggled with how to handle that sort of naming convention on the Japanese side. There's also the Dancer of Rana that's shown not as a spirit being fought in the Cerulean Coast. No, doesn't she show up as a spirit? Like, I'm pretty sure we got screenshots to that effect, right? Am I crazy? Oh, no, you mean... Oh, no, I get what you mean. You mean in the trailer. Yeah, the trailer shows the Dancer of Rana, but she's not a spirit. Yeah. For a second, my brain was like, wait, what are we talking about now? Okay. Yeah, that is true. That is true as well. So it's not like just Torrent. I think the Torrent thing, though, is much more egregious because obviously, like, the entire gimmick of this area is you don't have Torrent, and yet the trailer is, of course, showing you in, like, the final destination of the area on Torrent. I think they're growing underground because the soil in there is so fertilized, at least in the Ancestral Followers location. Okay, so in the Ancestral Followers location, those trees are called ancient trees. They're basically arch trees. What was her name? The one, she calls it like the ancient bowers or whatever, but that's trying to get across ancient. I think there's a, let me see if I can. No, okay, there's not a grace point or anything that identifies it. Oh, it's so funny they're showing the trees there, but they're not actually surrounded by them, right? Because I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Orina doesn't. I get the idea because the larger area, of course, obviously has them, but. I mean, I guess they're trying to be like, yeah, like from across the river, you can totally see it though, man. They're more like fallen trees, you know? If you want to count any trees, right? There's definitely none behind them, though. Stone trees. Yeah, they do seem to definitely become like that, don't they? They have that sound of stone. And then finally, we have Midra's Manse here. Yeah, I love my goat horse, my goat steed. Mm-hmm. We got the spiral tree stuff. Yeah, so I'm thinking that lava could definitely be an explanation if we factor in the twin bird here. I think for the DLC, if the twin bird is moving south, possibly there's an argument for the travel paths leaving like fire and stuff in the twin bird's wake, especially if it's like, so here is the realm of shadow, right? Here's the twin bird. Twin bird's like travels down south this direction, and then would end up maybe passing over through this way, right? Ends up creating the lava stuff here, maybe along the way, like maybe leaves a trail or something. Like there's so much lava the twin bird is hypothetically producing, right? Or that maybe goes around this way and kind of does the same thing with like the lava and stuff producing it, right? And in the end, it's heading in the general direction from northwest to southeast to Jagged Peak, right? As we can see, Jagged Peak has its own like crazy formation similar to Gelmir. So I'm wondering if it's something along those lines that we can use to justify. And so we're indirectly getting more twin bird lore through the topography here. There's all these things here, as we know. Not easy to see. But it's supposed to be like the egg things. I am impressed by just how much they put something so important, made it virtually impossible to really make out beneath here, you know? Very impressive, Miyazaki. Up! Should have seen that coming. Yeah, I know, Nanaya. You don't have to balk me. Now that's some lore. I love lava lore. I also love finger lore. There we go. There we go. Up. Thank God I have this open. Yeah, the other secret way here, like you say, yeah, has like the egg holders and stuff. It's fascinating just how much hay is here. There's signs of the fingerprints. Usually when I think of hay, I think of like bedding for like animals or something like that. So that always kind of like rings bells in my brain. He's not doing too bad for a dried old corpse, you know? I think the years of death have been kind to her, all things considered. It's like they found out they were getting I guess inquisition would be the word, right? And they rushed to show all their research in the secret room, so they found Midra in his room with the 3 fingers. Like, wow, yeah, caught red-handed. I guess in this case, literally red-handed. Do you remember what I was saying about Yura last stream? Midra takes cake on that front. Yura is definitely not as big of a simp as Midra, that's for sure. Imagine suffering crucifixion with frenzy for so long because a lady told you so. Ace and I were going back and forth on the idea. I was like, is Nanaya actually manipulative? Is there something else going on? Like, we go with the idea, like, could she be an incarnation of Shabriri? You know, what will be the timeline for when she's coming to the picture, relevant to America and stuff, relative to America and all that. We got a discussion. It's definitely difficult, I think, to determine because, like, there's so many variables. And so I feel like you have to do like a really careful like dive on like, okay, what is Midra doing? Where does he come from? How does he exist? Because he doesn't really have horns, but he's clearly associated with the horn scent and stuff like that. So there's just a lot of questions there. Is he missing his horns maybe because they were burned off, like the frenzy or something, completely got rid of them? So he did have horns, but he lost them at some point. Well, I don't think that's consistent with his portrait, at least, right? His portrait, I think, shows him basically how we see him in the boss fight. Correct me if I'm wrong. Oh, I think I lost the portrait, right? Because it's an illusory wall thing. Yeah, damn, I can't look at it. But yeah. Yeah, I know, it's just funny calling it being inquired. Yeah, I agree. It definitely kind of hit my funny bone a little reading that. Midra's on that prayer mat carpet thing facing the middle where the fingers would be. Oh my god. I'm so bad. Gotta remember, I mean... So he was like on here. And he was facing, you're saying this. I wonder if the 3 fingers can teleport or something then. Obvious, I don't know how the hell the 3 fingers ends up where they end up. Oh. What if... What if the 3 fingers... Because we know they have to also put the mark on that grave and stuff like that. What if the 3 fingers... I don't know if they're created necessarily by Midra or something like that, but 3 fingers achieve the state that we know them in at over here at Midra's manse. They leave the manse, or they're sent out from the manse or what have you. I guess after already giving Midra the potential to become a lord or whatever. And then the stuff with the nomadic warriors. And then Marika informs the Hornsent because she has information or that from investigations or whatever, tracing them back to the Hornsent. And the Hornsent are like, well, how the hell is the frenzy in our area or whatever? Don't worry, we'll take care of this. And then they trace that back to Midra. The depths of your goonishness! That's so funny to think about, that's for sure. The depths of your goodishness. Yeah, that's a great meme. Oh, the man's. I'm just saying. First person to make a mod that lets us go around the mansion and be able to see the rest of this stuff here will have all my love and support. Yeah, so this would be the room where we see this would be the library-ish section we were exploring before, right? And this would lead to all the other bullcrap. Yeah. All right, here's a question. Is there any major differences from the mansion itself, too? Because there are like, okay, so there's a few questions that would come to mind when I look at this picture. For one is the comparison to overgrowth and stuff like that. Let's see, what can I do here? Yeah, unfortunately, getting it so we have more light to work with here is just not going to be happening. Right? They forever want to cast this area in certain degrees of shadow. Well, like if we were trying to recreate this shot, like something like this, right? Water. Always has a bit of water here. Definitely not unusual. Generally looks to be in good condition. Right? This thing's not properly defined, but then again, you're never going to see it, so... It's like you look here. Yeah, pretty accurate. You know, for this specific instance, I think it'd be probably better if we do this too. I don't know if nighttime's gonna screw this over, so let's... We're gonna put time of day to normal. Chat, I'm so sluggish. I have to move on my own two legs. Ooh. However will I survive? Oh, ooh. All right, and how far? Obviously, it doesn't have a giant hole on the side of its rooftop here. A little bit of overgrowth, but not to the same extent for sure. What's this here? I think that's just damage to the painting, right? Yeah, that looks like damage to the actual painting. Yeah, we have some damage over here too. Right. Aren't these some of the things we see at like Bellarat and Eniralim, right? So the gargoyles, I'm pretty sure. Yep. It looks pretty because you just have like the forest and trees and stuff there, right? It's a bit hard because there's obviously the damage, so it's a... You don't really get to see this tower structure here. Right. They do let you go around the side at least here. Then on the other side... Oh, interesting. They have like a little tower back there. Yeah, they have something similar over here, right? Where there's like a tower on this side. Yeah, and obviously not damaged and overgrown like these are. This one definitely seems a bit more simplified. It's like, yes, you have this here, but then they only have one window, two windows, twice. Before they take a... It looks like they're jumping really quick. Yeah, the way it's also showing is like the 1-2 window thing would already cover, I think, a little bit more than there actually is. I don't think this chimney's well defined on the painting, for example. Yeah, so it's definitely not a perfect one-to-one. Yeah, one. I'm gonna ignore that one there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there's like an there'd be an extra fifth one there. Yeah, this top section's a little bit... I'm not even sure what they're trying to convey on that left side there. Like, that definitely gets a bit messy. Like, I guess the idea is supposed to be, like, it's trying to portray some of that back section there. Right? Because it's got the slope here, but obviously extends further. Yeah, it looks like there should be, like, some sort of, like, pointed roof somewhere there. I don't really see it. Unless they're trying to convey something like that. There's a raccoon tapping at my screen door and my pets are staring it down. It wants to come in. It wants to come in and rummage through your trash. It's your trash collector. Yeah, the problem I have with the three fingers is just the imprisonment of the three fingers is not my issue, so much as to say that my problem is how they are here. If the three fingers are still around when the Inquisition is happening, it's definitely a little weird. Now, maybe you can make a case of the three fingers coming to Midra's Manse at some point after the nomadic, before or during or after the nomad incident. Which, again, I think is unlikely because it's very clear the idea is that America has them all imprisoned together. Yeah, so it's just like, kind of one of those weird things. It also becomes a bit weird with the Shabriri side of getting that contact with the three fingers. Because clearly the stone shield and stuff have to get brought and sealed with it. Unless the idea is that the stone shield was with Midra, the fingerprint shield. Unless the idea is that Midra had his hands on that old god's grave. But in that case, I have no idea what god we'd be talking about there. Unless... and hear me out, maybe Miranda's grave. We're going back to the idea of it being a past god before America's graveyard that's getting desecrated by the three fingers. Again, there's definitely like problems I'd have to resolve to kind of fit it all together. Like I'm definitely working through the scenario there. Well, that's just an unmarked grave since the headstone is gone. That's for sure. But the point is that the tombstone, right? Like that's sort of the most important part, is right. Like we have a tombstone, we have the three fingers leaving fingerprints and stuff on it, which is relevant enough that it's in the hands of the nomad slash three fingers in their prison, right? It is locked in there with them. And the question has to be is, where was that grave originally? And how did Shiburi slash the nomads come into contact with it along with the three fingers? I like referring to a cultural genocide as the nomad incident. Yeah, it's their fault they got rounded up. Hey, listen, the Great Caravan had its time in the sun, okay? They had their time and they squandered it. It's their fault. Should have done better. I didn't realize that was a trap. Wait, did they throw something and that caused it? I don't remember what causes all that. Yeah. All right. Well, technically one of them did cause... Yeah. Yeah, so the lot of stuff with Midra and stuff still need to work through. But then again, you know, I shouldn't be too surprised with myself there, because there's so much on the Rao Ancient Dynasty side I would have to work through first. Because I feel like unless I get at least the basics of that history done, I'm not going to make any progress on figuring out the stuff with the Frenzy. Okay, yeah, they throw it, it's an item. Okay. Yeah, so one of these guys just threw it up there. Thing for me is also Nanaya and figuring out her origin. She has black hair, so Acer was I think it was Acer putting forth the idea of maybe a mountaintop's origin, like Renala and the Carians. Not as sold on that idea. Because it's kind of like, at what point does astrology or sorcery factor in? I guess you could make the argument that it makes her wise or something. So someone that Midra could possibly connect to as a wise sage himself, right? And I think we run into the problem with like, clearly Midra's acting under the sanctions of the Horn Scent. But you know, Horn Scent clearly looked down on those without horns. So it's kind of weird that Midra is getting weirdly is accepted, unless there's actually an Erd Tree connection with Midra. and he's actually comes from America's kingdom, which again could work with the post dating, but then that adds more complications to figuring out his background. There are also those enlightened, I guess, monumental types. They also exist and have connections to hornlessness, so I guess it should be too unfair. Yeah, unfortunately, we don't get too many more pictures or paintings and stuff to really kind of get the sense of it. It also doesn't seem like, at least, that Anaya is pregnant. I know there's been talk about that based on her portrait. At least not seeing it, of course, in her now. Could be though she already gave birth, if she hypothetically did. Who knows, maybe the three fingers is her child. That would be something. Romina also doesn't have horns. To be fair, though, Romina has the rot stuff, so I'm willing to forgive a lack of horns when you have literally decay as your, like, main element. Like, I'm not expecting Romina to still be, you know, normal. It's interesting because they show, like, spirits and ghosts, of course, of all the characters here. We do have a handful of these half-naked bodies here that are bound and, of course, crucified, beheaded, however you want to put it. Well, she doesn't look like she has horns in the trailer. I don't know about that because, like, all we do is, like, see her with, like, kind of like a hood thing, so they could be under the hood. It's also possible that they didn't want to design it because they didn't have a firm idea how Romina's look was going to be. I guess there would be a weird thing of being like, if Romina's a big saint and stuff, considering how we see the clerk, like, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure. Oh no, this isn't it. Just go here. I'm pretty sure most horn-sent clergy have big horns, right? So yeah, I guess it would be a little weird if hers are, like, subtle. Because theirs are so out and out. Yeah. She has the same remembrance color as the other horn-sent Emmanuel. You mean Jory? I don't remember an Emmanuel with a remembrance. I understood Romina being a shaman, or at least a descendant, because of the saint stuff. But I'm not mistaken, it's a different thing in the original script. Yeah, saints, the saint thing and the shaman stuff is separate. Like, a shaman basically is using an antiquated term for priestesses slash shrine maidens that you see in Shintoism. Miko, of course. And Romina's, again, from what I remember at least, I'm pretty sure Romina's term for saint is the traditional term Seijo for holy woman, you know? There we go. What? What? What do you mean, Loki? Am I crazy? Is there an Emmanuel boss or something that I should know about? Oh no, you are addressing Emmanuel. I'm retarded. Know me. Yeah, okay. I am absolutely positively retarded. Listen, I don't read all your usernames constantly, okay? This is what I get. This is what I get for voiding it from my memory. I also love how the translator thing translates my name as above. I have no idea what language that translates into, but okay, sure, whatever you say, YouTube. As above, so below, and I should definitely go below and go crawl under a rock and die. Can you believe we listen to this guy's lore text based on written lore? All right, so where the hell? Yeah, the only thing I can think of is because we see the enlightened. Yeah, this one's safe. The only thing I can think of is that both Midra and Romina fall under. Yeah, I think it's back here, right? Yeah. All right, enough. There we go. We have our monumental guys, right? And clearly, they're supposed to be... Like, I'll be honest, I would be surprised if they literally ripped the monumentals model for this. Like, it's ridiculous how much... It's ridiculous how similar they look. Obviously not showing, didn't model any feet or anything for this. But like, it's very clear that they don't have horns. So I have to assume there must be some sort of purification or something process. And maybe there's this idea of if you have the horns, but then you channel your spirituality in a way which causes you to shed them. But you become enlightened in that way. I don't know. God. Did you say that Romina ritually cuts off horns because she excises spirits with her blade or something? I don't remember. It's been a while since I've read the Romina stuff, so I'm a little fuzzy on her stuff. So maybe there's something to that effect there. It doesn't like ring a bell. It doesn't ring a bell whatsoever. Now, yeah, that's the only thing I can think of to justify it. Because like Xavier was saying, she clearly has at least some indications of definitely being horn scent. It doesn't really make sense for the horn scent to have a non-horn scent as the big pastor of their church that is trying to revive elements lost to their culture from the ancestors after the collapse of their civilization, of their previous civilization, right? Like, it's very clear this is supposed to be a cultural revival moment for the horn scent. So it seems very weird. It's like, ah, yes, this cultural revival, we'll give it to this human who has no horns by default, which we despise and usually will enslave. Maybe horns grow with age plus exposure to the crucible. No, they make a point of how, like, isn't that the point of, like, the horn baron and stuff like that? Like, they make a point of you being born with horns, and, like, babies without horns, either they die, they're liable to die young, or they're killed. I can't remember the specifics, right? So yeah, I don't think that's it. The point is supposed to be spirituality, so I think it's more so just based on circumstance of your birth, that if you happen to be born with enough spirits to manifest bigger horns. Maybe you could cultivate it to some extent after the fact, right? I think that's probably part of the idea with the curse blades. The ultimate spirit asceticism, to cut off yourself from spirits. Maybe that will be the idea? That you're someone who's so dedicated that the thing most precious to horn scent, their horns, they sacrifice for the purposes of achieving enlightenment? that could maybe justify it. And then you have maybe the idea is that Midra is one of these enlightened sages who underwent that process. Obviously, he doesn't look like a baby monumental type. But again, if we just take that as From Software being cheeky with their reference to the monumental, and the monumental, of course, obviously being inspired by the Buddha and having this clean, youthful, pure representation to represent kind of the purity and simplicity and peace of enlightenment, then we could maybe make the argument that Midra would definitely be like among their number. Like he went through that process. Yeah, this is one of the reasons why I think I need to do a deep dive sometime into Hornsen culture and kind of break down. At some point, I do have to get around to that because there's just so much there to kind of dig into and explore. But like I said, there's so much other stuff, like with the twin birds and stuff as well. Well, monumentals are also made out of wood for some reason. You mean the ones in Elden Ring or in Demon Souls? I don't remember what it's like in Demon Souls to hit them. That's not surprising though to me, because the idea is supposed to be that they've transcended. You know, they've kind of transcended to the form that they're in. So I would not be surprised if that involves a changing of their body's composition to something more immortal. But then they would lose the connection with the spirits, right? Yes, I would assume that purging. I would assume that the idea of purging or purifying themselves of their spirituality means that whatever those spirits are, they either are destroyed or otherwise liberated and have no further connection with the person. Yeah, the question would be is like why the enlightenment? Clearly the Hornsent consider it important enough that we of course see some of them like going through the process at the Church of the Bud, right? So it's something important to them that they even tie it into their ancestor worship, right? It's important enough that as soon as you enter their goddamn city, they're barraging you with it on top of one of their land gods, I should say, right? So like first thing as soon as you're entering, they're like being like, hey, look at us, we have all these monumentals. Demon Souls, very visually wood, like there's a wood grain. Yeah, that's what I recall as well. Like there's a little bit of like a graininess almost to them. Oh yes, I don't remember if we still have... I don't remember if I killed the tree spirits or not over here. Or if they respawn or not. I think I did. Yeah. Oh well. Guys, this poor tree species, man, it needs to stop. It needs to stop ending up. This thing like looks like an oak, right? It's like it really needs to take a lesson out of its like kindred in Liurnia Lake. And like stop putting itself in locations where it can't thrive. Like you just got bad luck, my friend. Like choose the opposite of whatever you get in the lottery. There's so many sages or Buddha figures in this game. You have Goldmask, Rani, Hornsen, Ascetics, etc. Well, I mean, yeah, Miyazaki falls back on it a lot in this game. I think part of it is just the extent of the game and stuff like that. It's just so big, it's easier probably to default to a very simple concept that, of course, he, is intimately familiar with as a Japanese man, right? Horde synthesis wed. Oh god, no, Bray, that would be the question. I mean, Astrologers is coming together nice. Did I upload it to the Discord yet? I wanted to do it before the stream, but I may have forgotten. I have to do that. Get the most recent draft there. Like that one's getting very close. Need to figure out how to, like, you know, tie a few things together and wrap up some sections. That's getting there. So then we go all the way over here. And there's nothing here, right? Oh, where's the dancing line? Yeah, here we go. How close to astrologer length would be horn scent? All right, if it's just the history of the horn scent going into like their origins, the nature of their horns, up to the establishment of the different cities and towns in Ballarat, the development of the tower, all the experimental stuff involving the tower, including the Jar Saints, but of course, obviously not talking about the America Shaman specific relevant stuff. That's to be at least 25 pages. Yeah, I think that's at least a 25 pager. And to keep in mind, Astrologer is about 25 pages right now. And it's going to probably get to like 27 or 8 if I had to guess. No, it may stick to 26, 27 range. Depends on how many more paragraphs I add to the wrap up of certain sections. It'll be a long one though. It'll be a long one though for sure. Like, the only reason I don't think it would end up hitting 30 pages potentially is because I feel like a lot of the stuff related to RAW I would want to save in a RAW thing, and therefore I don't think I would go into too much detail talking about that. If anything, I would just talk about any RAW stuff in connection to like horn scent culture or society or whatever. So I'd be like, you know, like this, like what we see in RAW here, right? So that would save on a lot of space. It's a whole lot of culture to cover. It's why I really like the horn scent. I agree. I think it's cool just how much we get for them in this game. The problem is just like, it's just so much to break down and dissect. It's a lot to consider. And the thing is, when you have so much more, it gets so much more complex because yes, you can summarize things like these land gods very simply up to a point, right? But I still have to document and make sure I have all of it to make sure I'm not missing anything. If there's anything special or unique to note about one or two of them, like let's say like, I don't know, like this one's particular, it's like, oh no, actually we can connect this to a very specific figure mentioned in the lore or something like that. Well, now I have to like set aside and like kind of have that set up, and I have to consider organize. Okay, I need to make sure land gods are probably explained by this point. I need to make sure when we talk about that guy, that anything else that's prerequisite is going there, right? Like it adds to the complexity of putting it together. I think the one thing that's a saving grace for me is that's a lot less technical than astrologers, right? It's a lot less me. It's a lot less me trying to show you guys patterns and explain to you like geological and topographical geographical you know, data points on a graph, so to speak, that will lead to helping us get a basic concept across verifiably, and then you know, kind of having to build upon it from there. Like I think the closest is probably maybe the horn scent and their spirituality itself. Yeah, that'd be about it. Yeah, no idea what the gate divinity stuff. I guess it depends on how much the gate divinity was being used after America. Right, like were they using it? Were they still prepping for, like, there's a lot of questions about what they intended to do with the gate of divinity outside of course, assisting America with her becoming a god. Were they using it at all? Were they just kind of keeping it there, you know, in their back pocket while they were trying to work and figure out how maybe they could use it for themselves, right? Were they kind of experimenting? Were they like, maybe they were trying to create candidates they could force through it? I don't know. I mean, this also gets into the question of like, what is the process for someone becoming a god if they're crossing over into heaven, seemingly, to receive this? What is the experience? What do they know? What do they see? What do they experience? Obviously, Mikola is able to still talk to Radon, which I also would hypothesize is because of the using Radon as like a tether to the earthly realm. And so, you know, kind of has like, you know, ghost voice protection stuff like through Radon to us. But then like what is actually going on the heaven side that Mikola is keeping him occupied, so he's not like just like, you know, going in and then coming right back out, you know? Anir Aleem is a rabbit hole of its own. Oh, yes, yes, of course. Like I said, just the stuff on the Jar Saints as well would definitely, like, I'll be honest, if I hit 30 pages, it's going to be because of Jar Saints. Because there could be so much I want to talk. Like I told you guys last night, like just like the idea of like getting the corpses of old Newman women from Karo's hidden grave and using them for the experiments and then having to get a source or whatever. Like that alone is like, okay, that's going to take a little bit, like it could take a paragraph or two to go through and like explain. And then like you have all the other stuff with the jails and the different things with the lamenters and stuff to consider. Oh, sorry, Chad, I'm feeling tired again. Like it is just... It is endless. Just that topic alone and going into what they're trying to do, how they understand, what they figure out, what they're trying to get at. I just don't know. I really... Yeah, I don't know when I'll be tackling that one, but all I know is it's going to take me a while to finish it. Just to clarify, when I'm talking about speaking through Radon, I mean like more so like, you know, again, telepathically, magically, whatever. I don't mean like literally like he's like talking out of Radon's mouth or anything. Just to clarify, to make sure we're on the same page there. You know, more like his voice is emanating from around, you know, Radon's area. I don't think it's from the gate divinity because, again, as I recall, maybe I'm misremembering the cutscene. The gate isn't actually activated at that point. Like it's kind of like Mikolov went through already, and it's like quote unquote off. It doesn't start glowing and activating until during the second phase transition, where Mikolov, you know, Radon starts glowing red to yellow as Mikolav's gate opens up, and then he comes back out. Anyway, yeah, like I talked about in the Twitter post. Mark can project a message at Stormvale after his fake form is destroyed, so it's not like we haven't seen that Elden Ring already. Except the difference is that obviously there's the implication of something being like, just because something is destroyed or disappearing, that doesn't leave lingering magic or something in there, right? Right, like there's a huge difference between the idea of that, oh, there is a physical projected form done using a physical proxy, in this case, you know, the conscripted, you know, people and all that stuff that are stationed on the walls, blah, 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 right? So there's that, and then as that form is being defeated and or killed, that form then will then speak using the, to use a term stolen from Melina, you know, lingering echoes and stuff like that, right? Like, there very clearly is this idea that, you know, magic can leave a kind of residue or whatever that can afterwards. I don't know if you could really apply that to a gate, though, when the gate clearly has a thing where it's like, oh, it's open again, and now we see it actually reacting to it being open again, and the reaction point is, once again, Radon. And vice versa. So, again, I think it would make more sense that the living Radon, who is supposed to be, you know, assisting in this endeavor for the return of the god in totality, would be, and is supposed to be the god's connection, you know, tether connecting him remaining to the earth, even in heaven, would make more sense to me as being the cause for his ability to still communicate on earth while in heaven, you know. Kind of a one-to-one parallel there. Anyway, point is, this the enlightened stuff doesn't look like there's any up on the theater area, so it's literally is like just basically here, and then when you get to near Aleem, obviously we have some of it up here. I don't think it's at... I remember the boats. I don't think there's any more of these guys though down here though when you enter the tower. Yeah, no. Yeah, no, you just enter this way. Now I go this way. I mean, of course, the broken bridge and stuff like that. It's supposed to lead all the way back over there and everything. A wonderful question mark gold ash. Yeah, it doesn't have anything there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. Then we go this way here. That one's... For a second, I thought that was floating. I was like, wait, what? No, it's still attached to the rooftop. They don't focus too heavily on that. It's also interesting to me how much they focus on making Jagged Peak so, like, kind of, it's kind of like Cease Tower in that way where you're, like, always seeing it there, you know? Off in the distance, looming. Yeah, there we go. We'll say their horde say Grand Dam ritually summoning a divine beast when she's like a mile away. Again, she's also using the divine beast though as like a, what's the word, vessel. Not really. No, vessel's not the word. Catalyst isn't really, but I'll say it for now. Like catalyst, for lack of a better word. You know, for the purposes of that ritual there. So again, that creates a nexus of a connection she's making with herself to it and then to the heavens that she's appealing to, right? Again, that's no different from, again, Morgoth when we hear his voice before he physically manifests his bodily form through the conscripted servant. Like you'll hear it like literally, I think maybe a half second at least at or during, or point is like the process has not finished quite, quote unquote, and he's able to do it because obviously there's a connection made between him and that case, more accurate to call a vessel being used from which to manifest himself. So again, it all has to do with there being a third party with whom can be used as kind of like the relay point. Yes, the sculpted keeper corpses are the actual vessel for the spirit, right? The point more so is that the Grey Dam is using them as like a catalyst that she is, and being like, hey, you know, these guys, this thing here, I am offering it up to you. That might be the better way to put it, is like a personal sacrifice or offering, other than catalyst. It's funny seeing these trees here, you know? Which... Oh no, they're up here too. So they're like, yeah, they're all throughout then. Okay. Because my first thought was like, I wonder what's inside here, you know? Probably not that relevant that... Yeah, this is... I can't! I'm too fat! There we go. There we go. It's funny to me how small and flat their heads are supposed to be. Elden Ring really loves the long necks. Don't get me wrong, it looks great for the designs they're going for, but it's kind of funny when you focus in on it. Yeah, I know, sucks, buddy. Then yeah, they're just growing here. Yeah. It's funny because normally they really try to emphasize putting it in this, like, again, sand / potential golden ash question mark, which is so interesting to me. Then you have some of them just growing on the roof. Yeah, but they really don't use these enlightened boys again until we get in here. And there's so goddamn many of them. And again, this is where I can see the idea of this whole, that all these guys may be a product of some kind of, purification ritual that involves, like, burning themselves and the spirits with them. Again, to what end, to what purpose? Why is this something that they need to do, and why it would be so important to them that it's worth doing, considering how much they value spirituality? The only question I can think of is somehow that they're preparing themselves for a higher spirituality, but don't we have divine beasts and divine bird warriors that still have their horns, or at least indications with, like, the helms that they might still have their horns? Unless we're supposed to take from that actually, no, they don't. They actually lost their horns, and they're, I guess maybe they're just wearing helmets or whatever as, like, substitute horns? Maybe? That's so much to consider. Anyway, I would much rather focus on twin birds and stuff. Much less to work with, but much simpler in scale, therefore, to have to dissect. So if I can get these something coherent on these formations that relates back to Deathbird, that could be very cool. It might also help us with the history stuff then, right? Because if the idea is that the lava comes from the twin bird, and then that gets replaced by the Great Serpent, then we could get the idea that when at least the twin bird died, and maybe around the time maybe the Great Serpent could potentially be moving in to the volcano afterward. Yeah, we could potentially maybe date that to, how would I put it? I have to do 4 the thing is, like, astrologers and them showing up, like, we have a lot of flexibility with the time on that, right? On how long it would take founding Reign of Stars and stuff to happen. And then even then, after founding Reign of Stars, there's supposed to be even more time taken. There's a lot of time for sure for there to be developed ecosystems and stuff. And it is a guarantee that the Gelmir cult, like the Gelmir cult also has to have time to spread and stuff like that, right? The snake cult. So yeah, this could be some really ancient history stuff, even before mountaintop giants. Oh, also, I was looking through. Let's see if this is true or if I looted this. See over here. Pretty sure it's this location. Okay, there's one here. Yeah, and there's 2 more here. All right, so I found another example of the very rare group of Arteria leaves in the wild. So we have those there, and then the ones outside Kalu Baptismal Church. Wait. Did I never? I don't think it's south of Lookout Tower, is it? I thought it was outskirts. Am I crazy? Did I really never activate the Grace Point for this area? As my sorcerer? But it felt like I would have rushed through here at least once. Oh my god, I never did. That's so funny. Anyway. Oh god. Controller. Control yourself. So we have that area we were looking at, and then somewhere here, right? Yeah, here we go. Now these are obviously a lot closer together. But still. So we have this like group of 4 here. So it's not like it's only mountaintops that can have them so close together, but it's just obvious that it's a lot rarer compared to what we see on the mountaintops around the giants. And Caelid could be messing with our data, but we do have that one example very conveniently in literally between the head and the body of the giant corpse. I get it. You want me to get leaves. These are not the leaves I'm looking for. Yeah, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Don't see a fourth. Yep. There we go. So that all in mind, I have to wonder. I definitely have to wonder if there's a possibility. Yeah, because my thought would be, all right, why do we have arterial leaves growing here, but then not in the realm of shadow and stuff like this? And I'm having similar thoughts with the Erdleaf flowers. I'm actually wondering if Erdleaf flowers, we have to post-date them to after America breaks the Elden Ring specifically. Like, the only reason we have any Erdleaf flowers in existence is because leaves of the Erd Tree started spawning them when they were specifically outside the realm of the Erd Tree's existing influence on Altus. Then and only then, and of course, obviously, cold climates and stuff would cause complications as well, do we start seeing those growing in the lands between. So it would be like I don't know if necessarily post-shattering, but definitely post-ring breaking. I would do the 6. Oh my, what is it? Picture this: you meet the girl of your dreams, you hit it off, go on a date, goes great. Thing is, she has a full wall shrine to the long dead Bud like spokesdog Spuds McKenzie. What do you do? I don't know. I tell Bud Light to go shut down your business. You had your run. You tried, mate. Good luck with that. Nobody would do the 6. Oh my god, these stupid memes. If the Logy have the reach and influence America does, I feel Mikola could just similarly use that reach to speak to the gate. Are we talking about the echoes then? There's a matter of how far gods can reach with their influence in general, like America imparting grace and giving guidance to Tarnish outside the lands between. If we're going with the idea, of course, America is the one giving grace and stuff like that, there's two things. One is the connection through bloodline to the people who originally did it, so that could be a factor to consider. Is that the idea being is that there's still a connection to those original people who she had close contact with removing the guidance from originally. And two would be the fact that, you know, she's literally imprisoned with the Elden Ring. So I think at that juncture, there'd be a huge difference in terms of what we're discussing in terms of range of power. I don't know if it necessarily has to tie into her godhood. Again, I don't know if necessarily godhood applies there. And it depends on what you're trying to attribute to Marika as the qualities of a god, right? And this actually gets down to a deeper question of really is, what does it mean for Marika to go from an Empyrean to a god? What does that mean for a Newman versus a non-Newman? Or like, I guess Newman, actually, no, because, yeah, never mind. Mikola would be pure blood because he is, because one god thing, yeah. Makes sense if it coincides with the nighttime buff we get, like an excess of power shed from leaves. Wait, there's a nighttime buff when it comes to the leaves? I thought the leaf thing was consistent, regardless of time of day. Do those fallen leaves tell a story? The fallen leaves tell a story. Yeah, they always tell a story, unfortunately. They're always telling a goddamn story. And the story is you will never escape the arterial leaf. It's ridiculous. Night Scout, we're not talking about, like, an emotional bond. I'm not saying that she sat down and had a beer with him. Oh, my God. Yeah, late night we get bonus runes. Oh, really? That's cool. There we go. Perfect. Okay. Now, I'm pretty sure the room buff happens at any time of the day. Like, I am pretty sure that I've gotten it during daytime before. I know it can be hard because I always have things set to midday lighting. I'm not talking about an emotional bond either, dude. You were speculating that Mikla had a divine link to Radon and thus could speak at any Elim. Well, again, you were talking about bonds in relation to the Tarnish when we were talking about the descendants and stuff there, Night Scout. And I was throwing out that one I would consider maybe the possibility that this has to do with blood, a blood connection between the descendants of the Tarnish and the original Tarnished army of warriors that were originally the ones deprived of grace. So there may be some continuity there that could be drawn upon if we're talking about the idea of distance and the links that of what reach America can go to. So therefore it'd be more so distance agnostic, as it's more about just the people. Again, we're talking about the link of bonds and tethers in that context, right? So I always thought you were talking about the idea of them not having a bond or anything like that. You're talking about the emotional type of stuff. Where I'm like, no, nothing there. Maybe I'm mistaken, but I believe I only got it at late night. Maybe. It's possible. It's possible that I'm misremembering. It could be I've gotten confused because I know there's like promo art of it happening during the day, but again, we know, like we were talking about earlier, there's stuff that's definitely in trailers and promotional material that doesn't necessarily make it to the final game, so I could just be kerfuzzled in my brain and it always comes at night. As to it may just make it the point, but like we know that there's a bond between Radon and Mikla. Like even Mikla himself is making the point about that, of the Lord guiding. Like that's the entire point of reviving Radon, as he is. Anyway, I think that more or less covers everything I want to check out and go over. The only thing that we're really missing is those cliffside graveyards. So let's take a quick look at those and see if I can find any more of my favorite dragonflies to piss me off. Ba-ba-ba. Ba-ba-ba. Nothing. Oh, you don't see like anyone like buzzing around the bottom. See, this is the thing that'll get you paranoid. Is just like, okay, well, these things apparently aren't necessarily going to be on top of them all the time now, so. And the other one is over here. God, unfortunately, they're little buzzy buggers, so it's not necessarily easy to spot them either. I don't see him here. All right. Might be a little hard to see if I'm not looking down there directly, right? There we go. Yeah, I got nothing here. Not seeing any on these. And then... All right, looks like we have Karo's grave there. One there. We already checked over there and spotted here. I don't think there's any over here. They kept this as a ledge. We have that there. I was like, was there one here by the cathedral? I don't think so. Of course, yeah, over there. All right, maybe you guys could update me in case I'm forgetting any, but let's focus on the ones we have right here. Get this all done and over with. I disagree with the keeping tabs unless it's like akin to say what we see with Mikola with the way he seems to project himself into the lands between while he's doing his Land of Shadow thing, where he may be like going over and exploring things physically individually in like a spirit form. That I can see as being like a projection thing that maybe would be within Marika's abilities. All right, now. Okay, yeah, we go this way. That's just the wind. Okay. I'm gonna assume... Yeah, they're not flying around. All right, I'm gonna assume that those things would have already come in, but you know what? We will try to get close. Yep, it's still nothing. Absolutely nothing. All right, and then next would be... I guess those would work. Now let's do this one. So over here, I feel like I might have checked this area already before, but I don't clearly remember, so wouldn't hurt. Yeah, definitely not going to work there. Oh, let's go around just to be doubly. I'm pretty sure there are dragonflies in the Red Bear area, so I think I remember seeing those there. God, I hate going around for this area. All right, now. Maybe I'm just crazy. All right, there we go. Guess I'm just crazy. All right, and then over here. Yep. Yep, nothing loaded in or anything. Ain't no secret dragonflies here. And then... yeah, there's nothing else there. Okay, yeah, let's finally go here. Loki, why do you think Charon and... I assume you mean Karo's Hidden Grave and Cerulean Coast have different colors? My initial impression when I saw that was, oh, twin bird. Right? You know, red for one half, blue for the other. I'm not sure if that's ever reflected in the shield, because isn't the shield like red and gold or something? I don't remember exactly. But that was my initial thought, was that the split in the colors was because of the split in the mother bird, and that was kind of like a hint being made about that being, of course, not just Deathbird domain, but of course ultimately also a domain of the mother. Oh wait, I just saw it. There's our greenie boy. There's our man, our bug. Spirit talismans have red and blue feathers. Okay, well that's a good thing. That does something. So at the very least, you could argue for a death bird connection, even if not necessarily a death bird mother connection. Though who knows? You could make an argument that maybe the dichotomy is because that's ultimately how it works for the mother too. Yeah, I like that one. All right. All right, so that's two cliffside graveyards, and they're keeping it consistent with the base game where you get the green ones. So twice they do this to us. Bird itself is red and black on the shield. Okay, it's black is the other color. Gotcha. But the halves of the shield itself are red and blue. Okay, so it might just be artistic license with them, like, doing, like, the division there, then, maybe. Okay. Oh, and look at that! We have another one. Is that a white? No, that has to be brown, right? It's brown, but I think it's... oh, God. It's brown, but it's big. I don't know how... it's not like... okay, it's not Kaled sized, right? Like, I'm pretty sure Kaled's is bigger. Yeah, let's wait for this to pass. Or you know what? Screw it. I'll just climb down again. Hey, get out of the mountain, asshole. This stupid bug. There we go. Oh my God. You stupid bug, stop clipping. Dumbass bug. Really? Man, we are unlucky, chat. I'm sorry to say. I think we may be the unluckiest sons of bitches here. Whatever. I don't want to get a shot with me in it anyway. Whatever, this will work. Oh, whoops. Tiny? This was a little bigger than tiny. I don't remember if there was this variance in the base game. I assume there must be, but I don't remember. God, it's so hard to tell. I feel like I could just be like convincing myself that they're different sizes, but they're really the same size. Anyway, surprising to have some brown ones there, but they're still keeping it consistent where the green ones are basically exclusive to that. And then we have down here. There we go. But yeah, that one definitely is bigger. Like, you can tell it's bigger than the green one even. This one might be Caelid size. Yeah, like, you compare this to this, you can just already tell. There's no question there. Okay, I think the other ones were definitely on the smaller side. Maybe a medium-sized version. I don't know. This is interesting then, because this is the second time that we've seen a big one, a small one, and a green one paired together in the vicinity of one of these cliffsides graveyards, you know? Cliffside cemeteries. And then we get over here. Nothing. Back to bare. That was all the locations we want to check, right? I thought, was there one over there? No. All right, so far 2 locations. And then over here. I wonder if the fly disease on bodies thrown in the river, if like the dragonfly colors. No, because they're consistently in the base game too. Obviously no fly disease there. Yeah, so here we have another space where we have tons of dragonflies. Tons of dragonflies. Lots of them. Like, for some reason, all of them really like this area. They were just like, you know what? There's no water here, but we're okay with that. And then you get it finally up here at the top of it. I wonder if there's a joke that even the dragonflies don't want to be near the shaman village because they don't want to risk getting eaten. Like, it's like, you want me to be near those graves? Not on your life, is it? I know who gets buried and not buried there. It's definitely bizarre, though. Like, there's just so many. Granted, they show a lot of crucible creatures and stuff here. So it might be just trying to say, like, look at how many dragonflies are being born. Like, we have so many of every type born here. Like, really? It just never ends, though. That's what gets me. Also, again, formation stuff we were talking about earlier, but... Oh. Another green one? Are you kidding me? Like, Jesus. Yeah, just accept it. There we go. Easily discernible. God, that's insane. Just so many dragonflies. That might explain the anomaly then. If they're showing this many in groups like this, that could explain the anomaly of why we find some green ones here when they're otherwise always at those cliffside graveyards. Just to highlight the ridiculous virality present here. Then when we look here, yeah, nothing. Godric Trait Rune does have a tinge of green to like low quality gold products do. These dragonflies might have a faint amount of gold for them to have the green look. Do I think that the connection to the dragonflies could be gold related? Sure. I don't think that's absurd. Again, the problem is why would it be specifically at the graveyards? Like, why would they be going there, right? Like I said, it's a bit weird, especially considering that their only thing really is being poison resistant. And these tortoises double-headed? I'm pretty sure we don't have double-headed tortoises or turtles. They're the true orchestrators of the Horned Inquisition. What, did they all cut off Midra's heads with their giant pincers? Was that the idea? Oh, wait, isn't there... No, you just scale down normally. No, there's no cliffside graveyard to that. Just going straight to the Rabba. The Rabba Tower. Yeah, okay, because... The thing that gets me is that it's only like... If we're lucky, it's one, maybe two. They're very isolated. And they seem to really oftentimes want to group them with other dragonflies in the area. Like, usually it's more common that we would see them, like, resting here. Maybe one would be flying about, right? So again, it's so fascinating to me that they're seemingly trying to keep that consistent, but they're showing them a little less often. Oh, that's also something. Let me double check something. Oh no, did I? Oh no, chat. I hit my UI. I forgot how to. What did I press? Oh god, I forgot what button it is that affects this. 1 second. God, I always make this mistake. Where's the button for UI? Like, what could I possibly have pressed? Okay, it is delete. I was like, no, but I didn't see that when I did it. Okay, I guess it just didn't show up on my front then. Okay. That's weird. Whatever. Feeding on runes? I guess it could be the idea of them being corpse feeders. I would be surprised though they're specifically doing it for the cliffside stuff. Maybe because it's easier to spy them that way versus if it was a regular graveyard, maybe. Just an interesting choice all around, you know? Also, the wings are yellow. Are they more on the yellow side? Oh. 1 second. I don't know. It seems like it's all a little consistent on the... It's got that greenish tint to it. I mean, I guess because of the translucence, they definitely look a bit more yellowish for sure, yeah. Maybe because they have unique access compared to other scavengers. That's true. There may be the idea that there's less competition with the graveyard set up this way. That could definitely be true. That they can fly and you know, cling onto the sides of the precipices and stuff. That could be the joke they're making there. Because, you know, wolves and stuff can go for the coffin cemeteries because they're easy to get for their front, but, you know, might have some competition for space for the dragonflies. Thing is, I don't think they don't drop bigger runes or something like that, right? Like, I don't think they drop any major rune things. So I don't know if they changed the loot table at all to kind of reflect this idea. If the purpose is like, oh, they're eating runes. Because don't, like rats and stuff, they'll give you like runes and stuff. It's like, oh yeah, like rats, they'll eat corpses and stuff. No, I don't think... I'm sorry to say, Night Sky, I don't think there's any scenario where you could argue ground collapsing in causes these things, especially when you see them even, like, built into the walls like this and stuff like that. Like, this is obviously just supposed to be a quote-unquote design choice. I don't think there's any case that can be made to somehow the ground is happening that you have completely vertically upright here. Especially with something like graves. Just heads. Yeah. That's kind of what's so weird to me about it. Like, it's something so distinctive and so randomly specific. Like, clearly they really wanted to convey it. But it's not like there's any, like, special reward or, like, really deep insight that I can think of related to it. Also, do dragonflies even normally scavenge like that? Like, that might be another problem. Is like, would they? Like, randomly, they'll, like, try to pincer us or something. This is gonna be... Yeah, it definitely gives you a good idea for the size comparison. For another comparison, let's try Limgrave. There we go. Nah, damn. Terrible, terrible position. Yep, you could definitely see the size disparity. Then let's go to the hinterland. Also, green ones have bigger mandibles, apparently. Oh, I didn't notice. I get... Oh my god. Huh? These feel a little bigger. Oh, this one feels... No, it's about the same size. I may be like, maybe going crazy with me. Yeah, this one's definitely the big ones like we see in Caelid. So yeah, no denying it. This is so interesting to me then. Because like we said, we normally just see those giant ones restricted to Caelid. Like I don't think in the base game there's one location that isn't Caelid that has the giant ones. That might line up with what I was saying with the sheep then, that they're trying to represent, instead of giving them horns, making the sheep just get bigger. God, what hell have I put myself into? Okay. And where's the green one? God, it's so hard to figure out now. We had the green one over here, right? I'm not crazy. Definitely up here. Yeah, I guess it is bigger, huh? Ah, damn. Where are the corpses? Damn, did they despawn? Oh, no, there it is. Yeah, definitely longer. Wiki compares them to bosun flies, which the males have larger mandibles. Is that so? I don't know why this one can't be killed. That's weird. See if this fixes that. Well, that did it. Buddy's hitbox is fixed. Yeah, so size is pretty normal for this. So slightly bigger than the smalls. Definitely not as big as the larges. Interesting pronunciation attempt. I have no idea what a Debosin fly is. Oh, really? Damn. All right, so quite a bit to think about. I think this is definitely the best time to end it because we've gone on for quite a bit. I think I've given a fair amount of time devoted to run around investigating this stuff. So good to know. I think probably given how there's such a big emphasis on creatures randomly having crucible energy do so, I think they're probably using that in cases where they didn't want to create a separate model with horns or something with them. They would instead go for just using the gigantism. So we have the giant sheep, obviously some of the reused giant dragonflies from Kaled. And it creates this wonderful and very... Where'd the other one go? Oh, no, that's the one we saw. I know I hit all three of... Ah, there you are. So you get a sense. Green ones seem to be medium. Small seem to be consistently small. And larges are... Oh boy, they are big. I feel like these have smaller ones than these. Maybe not. Maybe it's just my brain playing tricks on me. Dobson. Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, for some reason my brain was filling it and putting an O in there. Huh, I wonder if that green one we saw was the same one from up there and he just like moved or something. So I don't think I killed him last time. I don't see him here. Maybe this is why that guy got stuck or whatever. Like, no, yeah. These are pretty consistently the same size. Okay. Yeah, okay, good to know. Oh no, maybe it's down here that I saw. Okay, no, yeah, there is another green one. Yeah, okay. I'm not crazy, it's just I had to get closer. Okay. There we go. This has been Ecology with Loki. Next stream, we'll be looking at the mating habits of spirit collar snails. You know it. Come on in my magic school bus, kids. Mr. Frizzle is gonna show you all that sweet, sweet, sweet Elden Ring science. Okay, well, I never thought I would find Mount Dragonfly, but here we are. Forget Raven Mount. Dragonfly Mount's where it's at. Mount your Dragonfly, chat. Alrighty. Well, with all of that said, I think this is where we wrap things up. Yeah, I think it's where we wrap it all up. I can't remember how common it is to see horned goats, by the way. I'm so used to just remembering when we see sheep. I don't remember even if there were any horned goats in the base game or if I'm crazy. Yeah, they put so much emphasis on seeing so many of these animals together. It's very clear they're trying to showcase, like, the hinterland captures like some high degree of life. Then we're getting a bunch of course, the normal animals, but also a lot of the enhanced crucible types. Cold take, Mrs. Frizzle was hot, send posts. I don't know, the lips. I don't know, those lips were way too big from what I remember. Also, was it Miss Frizzle or Mrs. Frizzle? Because if it's Mrs. Frizzle, I'm surprised she's married. Anyway, I think that pretty much covers it for now, chat. I think we're gonna end it. Doggo's been very cooperative these last few streams, and I'm very grateful, but I think all things must come to... Oh my god, we found even more. We're not even on this side. It never ends with this stupid mount. Oh, are we gonna find a... Did I not go far enough away to find a green one? Is that it? Am I gonna find like a green one now, like hanging around here instead? I don't see. Oh god, I don't see it. I think I'm almost grateful that I don't see it. All right. Anyway, enough with the dragonflies. We're ending things here. Thank y'all. Bye.